Hello, welcome back to Tea with the Queens. I'm excited today. I have a awesome young lady who's going to just grace us with some knowledge, and she's going to give us an insight on some things about love. And I would love her to just come introduce herself and to let us know who she is and what it is that she does and how that impacts her life. So what we do impacts our lives. And so this is the place where we come for that transformation. We come to be empowered, and we take those skills and that knowledge that we learned here and we acquire them and apply them to our lives and to our businesses. So this is an excellent opportunity. And all the way from South Africa, which is totally amazing to me, that we get to hear, all the way from another continent to pour into us all the way over here in North America. So this is a blessing. This is truly a blessing. The interaction, the networking, the fellowship is always a blessing. So I'm going to bring up Miss Nas and let her introduce herself and let us know who she is. 1 second. Hello, I still messed it up.
Hello.
Hi, I still
Okay,
messed it up.
so
Kas Naidoo.
Kas Naidoo, yes.
Kas. I'm terrible. I am so terrible. I apologize. You could tell me something in the next minute, I'm going to lose it. I swear I am. And a little insert with that is that I had, some years ago, I used to have multiple strokes. So some of my short-term memory really did leave. But sometimes I'm like, okay, that y'all can blame it on that. But I lose stuff real quick. So I apologize. But hey, we got
No
you on
problem.
here and we ready to go. So I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself and just let us know just a little bit about you to start this conversation off.
Absolutely. So I'm Kas Naidoo. I am a life transformation coach, and I've been doing this for 24 years now. So I am a 57-year-old young woman. and
Yes.
my passion, it is my absolute joy to people awaken their masculine and feminine energies to come into a place of absolute wholeness. So we come into relationships, into business, as people that are whole, complete, authentic, living our highest purpose. And I see the greatest results coming from that when we first own our own power before we get into relationships or before we start our business or take our businesses to the next level.
Yes, that is so important. And that mindset before you dive into other things is so important because you got to have a strong foundation. And I always say that if your mind and if you're not comfortable with yourself and that your mind is not, you don't have that mindset, it's hard to stay focused and it's hard to be successful without knowing who you are. And that's so important. That's to be the first thing people do before they venture off, especially into relationships. So I know that this is love, evolution. And this is, when we talk about loving ourselves, we talk about loving others and how to tie all of that in. And even I would say loving, the things that we do, our hobbies, our businesses, our jobs, all of those things. So what made you go in this area 24 years ago?
I think, we start our journey from our greatest challenges. So I got divorced back then and I lost all my money. So I decided to go on this quest to find out, why do bad things happen to good people? How is it that, I'm an intelligent woman and yet I made all of these massive blunders. So I really went into a deep dive looking at what makes some relationships work while others fail. Why is it so easily attain lives of ease and prosperity and success while other people are struggling, are just simply surviving? So I went in and, in the beginning, I used to like read 4 books a week. I was insatiable. I was just looking for the answers. And the more that I learned, I started sharing it with other people. Initially it was just one or two of my friends, and then it was little groups of people in my lounge. And from there, I could see the changes that were taking place in people's lives. It's like suddenly, um, they were becoming more conscious, more aware. And I just went deeper and deeper into the work. I interviewed over 1,000 people to
Oh
find
wow.
out, why is it that some people are struggling in life? Uh, the divorce rate so high. So why did this couple get divorced? And this couple's living, 50 years together. And so what is, and the more I went into it, there were certain patterns that started to emerge. Um,
Yeah.
and I realized that there is something within all of us. We have the masculine and the feminine energy, and the feminine has been suppressed for way, right? That's we have the patriarchy. So the masculine energy is logical. It's making decisions, it is striving, it's setting goals, it's taking action, it's giving. All of that is masculine. And if you look at women today, especially women that have their own businesses or women that are in leadership roles, we are in our masculine energy
Yeah.
completely, right? So what is the feminine then? The feminine energy is intuitive, it's creative, it's wise, it's receptive, it's nurturing. And we've lost touch with this feminine side because somewhere along the line, we saw the feminine energy as being weak. It
Yes.
is anything but that. It is hugely powerful. The feminine doesn't chase, the feminine attracts to her. The
Yes.
feminine, so men have both masculine and feminine energy. Women have both masculine and feminine energy. But if we are all coming from masculine, it's like having two positive ends of a magnet. You try to bring it together and it repels. It keeps pushing apart. You can't bring masculine and think you're going to create an amazing relationship. You need
Yes.
one partner, uh, the man being predominantly masculine energy, and you want the to be slightly dominant feminine energy. Now you have polarity. Now you have attraction. You have these two people coming together, and these are the relationships I found could last a lifetime.
Wow. And when you were saying about women and gravitating toward the masculine, energy, and I thought about that too. I said, what? I think that I don't know when this kind of evolved. I'm thinking the 60s when it kind of started evolving. Women were starting to come out and work and be more self-sufficient, not relying on a man in a relationship, starting their careers and things like that. And I think that kind of flipped. It started kind of like in the woman movement, but they really we got empowered in the 60s, 70s. It was just this whole thing. And
Yes.
I think they felt like, okay, I got to be strong. I gotta be, the masculine, but especially the homes seemed like you were saying they were starting to break, and maybe some of that came from the fact that women started to take on the masculine energy, and they weren't, they were button heads basically. And
Yes.
that is
Yes.
so true. And I'm telling you, this little bit of time that we've talked, it was so enriching what you said and what I've learned from that. In relationships, that is so true. It's got to be a balance. And some relationships, that's what I always say: know your role in the relationship, know your role. That's not saying that you can't, explore your masculinity, because that brings, like you say, that's a whole nother set of characteristics that we have. But the same thing, embrace what attracts is that femininity. That's who we are. Same thing with men. Men, it's okay to be sensitive. It's okay to be nurturing. But we know your role as masculine. So that is so remarkable what you said. I mean, that's like I said, that was a whole course, a whole keynote, everything, all of that, just in what you just said just now. So definitely, you definitely know what you're talking about, and that was profound. And so, do you think that we started to change roles in around that time? I was saying the 60s and the 70s.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yes. That was the time of the women's movement, and hats off to the women at that time for marching and burning their bras and doing all of that so that we could have equal rights and jobs and all of that. But what happened was, if we go back like 5,000 years, we had the worship of the goddess. So it was the matriarchy. And we've forgotten about that because when we go back in history, we don't go back far enough. So when we go back 5,000 years ago, it was predominantly feminine energy, right? The worship of the goddess. We living in the patriarchy. So now that feminine swung to the opposite end. So if you think about this like a pendulum, right? We went from one end, excessive feminine, to the other end, which is now excessive masculine, which is the patriarchy. And neither one is going to work for us. So we are at a time now, and it is so exciting, where it is time to bring these two energies and harmonize them. So if a man himself and says, I have masculine and feminine energy within me, and it's time for me now to harmonize these energies within myself. And I'm not saying balance because kind of indicates 50-50. And we
Yeah.
don't want, right?
Right.
We want a man to have that slightly dominant masculine energy. And and ask any woman that is in her masculine, and she'll tell you, I want a man who's a leader. I want a man who can make decisions because I'm
Yeah.
tired. I'm doing it all every day in my business or in my job. I'm doing it all the time. And when a woman is too much in her masculine energy, she ends up feeling overwhelmed. She's exhausted. She doesn't know who she is anymore. She's trying to figure out, why am I here? What is my purpose? So she's not feeling fulfilled and she doesn't know why. And she says, but I'm successful. I really don't. How often have you
Yeah.
heard a woman say, I don't need a man? I can
Exactly.
do it all for
That's the new tagline for us, I guess. I don't need a man. I've got this on my
me.
own. I've done this. There's songs out there that tell you, you don't need a man because you can do this on your own. So we've been conditioned, in
Yes.
this this day and time, to feel, empowered. And I think that feeling empowered and feeling, they feeling that, like you said, that masculinity does not mean that we don't need a man or that we should desire. Like you said, we want to feel comforted. We want to feel safe.
Yes.
And I'm
Yes.
like you,
Yes.
you get tired. You get tired of trying to be here. Like you say, it's not equal. It's not. I want this, so I want to feel protected. I want him to be here so that I can feel protected. But I also got to
Exactly.
give them the liberty to express themselves emotionally. And I think that's the flip side of it with men. They're told men don't cry. Men, you got to be
Yes.
strong. We can't express ourselves as men. We're weak. So,
Yeah.
this is so
Yeah.
good because this is so true. And
Yes. Yes.
when you're not really doing this, and it's not really something that you study, when you learn it, you just get these aha moments because it's like, man, I would have never, really considered that. And this is so powerful because a lot of women, I will say, because I'm a woman, so I know, talking to other women, I can hear the frustration in their voices about, even in the conversation, the frustration, of wanting to have a mate, wanting to settle down and wanting to be comforted and to be protected. But they, at the same time, I'm over here and I'm making six figures, or I got this, or I got that. I got, two cars and I got a house already. What is he going to do for me? So how do we get out of that mindset to especially women? How can we just like chill out and relax and not be, so I mean, I know that the only way that some of them feel that they can relax is if they actually have somebody there. But how you can't attract anybody? I mean, how can they relax a little bit
Mhm.
to
See,
open the
that is
door?
where we tap into the feminine energy because the
Yeah.
feminine is about being, while the masculine is about doing. And
Okay. Yeah.
as women in that energy of being enough. We're always doing. So if we can stop, just take a breath and be present, that is you tapping into your feminine energy. If you are just walking bare feet on the grass, you are grounding. You're bringing in that feminine. If you look at what can I do that's creative? That's feminine energy. Can I tap into my inner wisdom? If I have to make a decision, can I feel in? We've been taught that our emotions, if we show emotion or if we come from emotion, then we are weak. Now, I'm
Yes.
not saying, cry all over social media. I'm definitely not saying that. I always talk about the pendulum and I say in the middle. So we can't have no emotion and we can't be overly emotional. But we can bring those two things together and come into a state of inner harmony
Yes.
around our emotions, be messages. If we are angry, I'm not saying go out and act out in anger, but I'm saying acknowledge what I'm feeling right now is anger. Why am I feeling this? Can I sit with this emotion for a little bit? Because when I sit with it, instead of suppressing it and trying to push it away and trying to act like I'm all happy and in the zone, no, the emotion is there to give you a message. If we can sit with that, that's our feminine. We're going within, we're feeling this, and that emotion will give you a message. And usually, if I'm just using anger as an example, it will tell you that somebody's crossing your boundary. You
Yes.
have boundaries, and those boundaries are being crossed. That's the message that anger carries. So we don't need to act out in it if we choose to actually go there and feel it. And you don't have
Right.
to feel it for months on end. You'll feel it for 5 minutes. And as soon as you get the message, that emotion will dissipate. It
Yes.
works like magic.
Yes, and and that's another thing too. That being emotionally healthy, being and that's another thing that people don't ever consider is that emotions. You have your emotions. It's about you have to have knowledge in your emotions. You got to be knowledgeable about your emotions because, like you say, if we just go and we react to every little thing, we sometimes we need to just step back and like you say, sit in it, think about our reactions to it, because I mean, we can get emotional and be ready to just go and fight. Somebody, makes
Yes.
us upset at a grocery store, like blocking, the aisle and you're trying to get past. Sometimes just say, excuse me, but some people get mad and just be like, just kind of push them out the way. So it's the emotions, understanding emotional intelligence, and that's a whole nother skill and thing to be aware of and to come into the knowledge of. But yeah, so like you say, it's good to have the middle. Don't think that you don't
Yes. Yeah.
have any emotion, but just don't go overboard. And that's the thing too I know that I'm kind of going back to the relationships, but the thing with the emotions as well, if we overly emotional, then too that can be a barrier into finding, that harmony with someone because you're overdoing it. And sometimes, men or women, they can't deal with it. It's just too much emotion, like you say. So it's good, I want to say it's good to understand our masculinity and to embrace that. And I think
Yeah.
that, you know, that's what we have to be okay with. It's good to be able to understand our masculinity, And when I saw your bio, you talked about that. I said that is so important, especially today, because we have so many that they want to either be over here or they want to be over there. If it's a man that's too feminine, oh, he must be same gender loving, or a woman too masculine.
Mm.
And sometimes we stay away from those areas because we don't want to be considered that. So they don't have the balance. So in that aspect, what would you just suggest, as far as being okay, where they, someone, that's a man, and to be okay with his femininity without feeling like, if he's not same gender loving, but not to be considered that. You know what I'm saying?
Mm. When it comes to masculine energy, we have toxic masculine energy, which is very controlling, undermining. It can become abusive. It's I've got to have my way. If not, it's very abusive. Then we have wounded masculine energy. So this is the man that can't make decisions. He can't take action. He's struggling financially and he doesn't have the answers. He doesn't know what to do. Then we have the healed or balanced masculine energy, or we can call it the divine masculine energy. This is a man who can tap into his emotions, but he's not acting from emotion. So he understands emotion, he feels emotion, but he's equally logical when he makes his decisions. He's able to take responsibility, take action. Um, he's very giving, he's caring. So I'm sure as I described that, every woman listening to this is, I want that man.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then on the feminine side, we have the same thing. So when we have a woman who's in the toxic feminine energy, she is very demanding. That's the diva. She's got to have her way all the time, very demanding. Then we have the wounded feminine energy, which is the victim. Poor me, I can't do anything, I can't take care of me. Someone has to come in and rescue me, save me. And then we've got the balanced feminine. It's like this goddess energy that she is bold and she is confident. She knows who she is. She's living a purpose. She's receptive. She attracts to her. She draws to her. She's magnetic, right? So can you see that now
Yeah.
the men are going to, oh, I want that woman.
Yes. I mean, you saying it, I'm like, wow, okay. So, in all of that we're talking about, do you have a book or anything, a manuscript that you have written about this?
I've got quite a few posts on my blog, but I have a whole program
Okay.
where I deal with it's called Consciously Creating Epic Relationships. Um,
Okay.
I work on the masculine and feminine energies, and I use different archetypes, like the energy of the king and the queen. And we see where's the excessive king energy, where's the wounded king, how do we release the excess, heal the wounded, and come into the balanced king energy. And we do the same with the queen. We have the warrior and the warrior woman. We have the lover and the seductress. So
Yes.
it is all of it is about us healing ourselves.
Yeah. That's good.
In the first 7 years of our lives, that's when major programming is happening. So we're being conditioned. We look at dad and we say, oh, that's how men are supposed to behave. We look at mom, that's how women
Yeah.
are supposed to behave. And if there was a toxic masculinity or a wounded feminine energy, then we don't realize as little kids that that's not going to serve me as an adult.
Yes. But you know what's what?
Adults, we tend,
Oh, I'm sorry.
sorry,
Go
as
ahead.
adults, we tend to attract the parent that we wanted something from and didn't get. So if dad was always absent, then what we do is we attract a partner who's very absent in the hopes that I'm going to heal in this relationship what I didn't get in that relationship. How often as someone says, I married my dad or I married my mom.
Yeah. But that's what I was going to say. Um, when I was growing up, at 7, I saw the relationship with my father so much different than what I see men as today. Then and I still see my dad sometimes at age 7 when I was 7, and he was young, of course, first time parents, and getting married. Sometimes they don't really know what to do or how to do it. So that impression of him, at that particular time in my life stays with me. Even though I may see, even with friends, they may have fathers that are very embracing and loving, and they're right there all the time. I see that, and have even experienced that in my own marriage. But I can't seem to get away from that with my dad. Even as an adult, we had a different relationship, and a much, a beautiful relationship as adults. But that little girl, I can't get past
Yes.
that part of that relationship. That's all I see. So when I hear my friends talk about when we were growing up, how their dad was or what their dad did when they were growing up, I can't relate. No matter how good the relationship was in my adult life, I can't relate as a child. So in that part of it, yeah, early on, I was attracting that type of person, that type of man. Like you said, I was thinking that I was going to change them, or there was going to be some kind of,
Yes.
so I was going to be some kind of hero or something. And it's, when you say that, you really don't even think about those things. And I would say this to the audience: if you're thinking about relationships, this is an excellent conversation about healing, about understanding and being healed, so that your relationship thrives. That we know, it all ties into us when we were growing up, all the way to adulthood. And when you tie it all in, I'm just getting excited, because now I'm starting to see the things that I've been feeling. This is so remarkable. And God rest my dad, so he passed away in 2017. Thank God we had a better relationship, but that little girl still yearns for that, and
Yes.
it still
Yes.
hurts.
Yeah, yeah. And that's the healing that needs to take place. It's for that little girl, for an adult looking back at that, we don't see that as trauma. When a child doesn't get the love, the attention, the time, whatever it is that child desires. But for that little child, that actually is trauma.
Yeah.
So when we that and we say, I need to heal that part of me that is still inside. She's still here. So I need to heal that little girl. I need to give her what she needed at that time. I need to give it to her. So
Yeah.
so it's not getting dad to do that any longer, but it's about you as so it's the adult you giving that to the child you. And then child now grow up into this adult that is now more fulfilled, this adult that is complete. So as much we think relationships are all about the romance and it's about finding my soulmate and then we live happily ever after. The unfortunate thing is that relationships are not here to make you happy. Relationships are here to make you conscious,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
And when you get older, you be like, when people say it's not always about the romance. When you're younger, that's all you think about, movies and the things on TV. And when they say that, and
Yes.
you be looking like, well, what is marriage supposed to be? But a healthy marriage, that, because the romance, it's not that it dies. You can't just live on romance, alone, because you got to live. Now you have to live with your partner. Life decisions, things happen. There's loss. There's sickness. There's triumphs and there's defeats. There's all kinds of different things. So if you don't have, like you say, if you don't have that, if you now have a solid foundation, that romance is really not going to carry it. The romance,
Yes.
to me, is a part of it, but it's not the whole equation.
Mm. Well, the good news is that when we do the inner healing work and we get to this point where we are really whole and complete, now you got two people who are whole and complete coming together. So it's not like I'm half a person looking for the other half to come complete me, because those are the worst relationships, right? It's all about the struggle and the control. It's ego based. Whereas if I'm a whole person and there's another whole person coming together, now we we consciously creating a relationship together. We are there to mutually support each other, mutually love, care for, respect, and be loyal to each other. So now I always say if you're going to be in a relationship, you might as well make it epic. Right?
Yeah.
So in
Right.
kind of relationship where we've harmonized the masculine and feminine and we come together and those relationships, the romance will go on forever. That being in love with each other, that will go on forever. So that's the good news, but we need to do the work first.
Yes. And yeah, 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 that's the key. It's the work.
Yeah.
And the first few years, when I get married, those first few years was a lot of work. I had to understand what marriage was, and what that meant for me, because I had to get out of the mindset that if I saw a characteristic of my dad, then that, whatever that reminded me of my father, now is my husband is doing that. But it wasn't the case. So I had to really go and dig deep, because I said, I wanted the relationship to work. So I knew that I had to be okay. And I had to make sure that I, showed up, whole. But the thing about that was those are the things that we should work on before we say I do, so
Yes.
that the first 3 years are not so difficult trying to find out who we
Yes.
are. But that's where, someone like you comes in that has something that that you can give to individuals, especially before they get married. Let's find out, are you whole? Let's find out, are y'all coming together whole individuals? Are you expecting him or her to come in and complete you? Because if you're expecting that, then we need to just kind of pull back a little bit and wait, because those first 3 years are crucial. And a lot of people have, you know, ended their marriages because in those first 3 years, because they had the expectation of being complete, or this person is going to make me happy, and that's not the case. And that's just something that I kind of learned throughout the years. But had I known those things before, that's why a lot of people, I don't want to talk to anybody about premarital or whatever. But it's so important, especially if you want a successful marriage. And a lot of people just, they feel that, oh, we know what we're doing, we love each other, we're about to do this and that. And then too, that comes with that balance. um I'm making so much money over here, and I got this, and he's doing this over there. Vice versa. We come together with our resources. We're gonna be this power couple, and then everything comes crashing down.
Yeah, and the truth is that every single couple thinks that way when they are in the falling in love phase.
Yeah.
So, where they're only seeing the best in the other person, or rather, they're only seeing what they choose to see in the other person. So that's what's going to bring them together, and they feel, we won't need the help. We're not going to be one of those couples that gets divorced down the line. We don't think like that because
Yeah.
the hormones are high.
Right.
But I feel that that is the time. If people value their relationship, then they must put in the time and energy to create a strong foundation for that relationship. We spend far too much time planning a wedding, which is for one day, and we spend almost no time at all planning the marriage, which we want to last a lifetime.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. All the bells and whistles. And I'm looking at a lot of, social media, of course, is, you know, um, a book that we can just look through. So of course everybody's posting their weddings, and they're posting all these,
Yes,
cute receptions, the dress, and I mean these extravagant weddings, and the music's playing. You got the photographer and you got the videographer capturing the most beautiful moments of these weddings. But the thing is that, like you said, it's one day, and I think that younger, I don't want to say younger, because women period and men period, they see these weddings, and they see all the glitz and the glamour, and so when they want to experience that day of love, so they
yeah,
spend all that time mimicking these other weddings and things that they see, not knowing that, okay, that's still just one day. So we are so
yeah.
focused on that moment of love, because that day, it is a lot of love that day. You're looking good,
It
he's
is,
looking
it
good, you
is,
just
yeah.
feel good, and it's just so much love. It's supposed to be. The music is right, the lighting is right. You got the candles, and you got the food and everything. Then you got everybody gleaming at you, like, oh, look at them. But a year later, you can't hardly stand each other,
Yes, yeah.
because
That's
that
the
day.
fairy tale.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the fairy tale. So we want this fairy tale wedding. So we assume if you read any fairy tale, it's they got married and they lived happily ever after. The fairy tale ends at that point. They're not telling you 3 months later, there's payments on the mortgage or the car, and somebody's going to be washing the dishes, going to be
Yes.
cooking the food. And when the kids come, or
Uh,
we have an argument, do we even have the tools to resolve conflict?
yes.
Have we spoken about what our expectations are on a day-to-day basis? If I'm still studying, or if I'm writing exams, and then when are we going to have the kids? And couples just don't have those deeper conversations, and they
Right.
don't have the tools that when they hit the wall, they don't have the tools to work through that. So I see a lot of 3 months after their wedding, they're ready to get divorced now because, well, this is not what I signed up for, and you're not the person I fell in love with anymore.
Right. And and the thing is, when you're explaining, about love and the balance and everything, unfortunately, there are couples that do go to premarital counseling and things like that, but they don't even the counselor who's ever orchestrating those sessions. They don't have even the knowledge that you have right now. So a lot of them are still led astray, because everybody does not think in that manner, like you said. Because what you're doing and what you have is so profound that just even in this little bit of time, so much wisdom and knowledge has gone out. So just being around others and being in that area, because I kind of went to school in that area of marriage and family therapy, and just seeing all those things, it really does not line up to still to me to the actual essence of being married or relationships and everything. It's still commercialized to me. I just feel like
Mm.
you know it's still commercialized, so people are still missing out. Even if they feel like they're doing the right thing by getting the counseling, they're still missing out on some key components that you have shared even today. And that's unfortunate. But the fortunate thing about it though is that you do exist and you are here. So on that note, how
Yeah.
can someone work with you? And not just for marriage, but the balance, just to find out, like you say, women embracing, you know, all of us, our femininity, our masculinity, vice versa, men, so that we are whole, just period. Relationships, then like the love evolution, if that comes and that all happens, fine. We're whole. So we got to start with loving ourselves first. So how can someone work with you, at this point?
Well, they can get in touch with me on the Love Evolution group on Facebook. Send me a DM, and then I work with people one on one. I do group coaching. I have programs that I run. I work with couples as well. But when I work with a couple, I say, you got to hit the pause button on this relationship. You're going to take a step back, and you're each going to do your own work.
Yes.
Um, when they come together as a couple in the middle of a problem, challenges, heated arguments, all they want to do is fix the other person. If you
Exactly.
do XYZ, then I will be happy, right? And that does not work. Each person has got to take responsibility for themselves. Because if I'm in a relationship with somebody and there's all these challenges happening, I need to understand that I attracted this person to me. Who I am and the energy I'm putting out, the thoughts, the beliefs, the actions, all of that. I'm putting that out and I'm attracting this person to me. So I need to take responsibility for why I attracted that into my life.
Exactly.
Right? And if someone's in an abusive relationship, they're going to hate hearing that. But that is the truth because you got to come out of that victim state and claim your power back.
Yes.
So that relationship is the platform for you to step into your own power.
Exactly.
You know,
That's
like
so
with
true.
couples, I say you do the work on your own. And then when you get to that place where you're feeling, wow, I now know who I am. I know what I want. I know what I bring to the table. And now I have the tools to create this epic relationship with my partner.
Yes. And that's the thing. I've talked to, women, and they say, I don't know why I keep attracting the same type of guy. Well, you just summed it up, because
Yes.
we haven't become whole. We are attracting those same guys because we're tolerating that same behavior. And they
Yes.
know that,
And I
like you said.
always say, it's like the universe is very kind. So the universe gives you the first opportunity to heal that pattern. And if you don't heal it, then the universe sends you another person. Now the challenges are slightly bigger
Yeah.
and you still don't look at it, you're still not doing the inner healing work. The universe says, okay, I'm going to give you another opportunity, send you the third person. Now the
Here we are.
challenges are even, yeah,
Yeah.
until you get to the point where you say, I can't do this anymore.
Exactly.
What Why am I attracting the same kind of people over and over again? That's your awakening moment. That's
Yes.
the moment you start taking your power back because you realize I'm the common denominator here.
Right. That is so true. It is so true. If you seeing the same characteristics in all of your relationships, then you, like you said, you're the common denominator. So sometimes then that's a cue. Pull back and let's work on ourselves. And
Yes.
and I always say, the environment that you're in, you know where they breathe, where those type of people are, and you're constantly there, and it's like you're just going from one to the next to the next. They do the same things. They enjoy the same things. They talk the same way.
Mm,
So you got to do something
mm.
different. You got to do something different,
Yes.
but you
Yes.
won't know that until you start to heal, and
Yes. Because when
you
you get to that point where you feel this deep love for yourself, this respect for your, this sense of worthiness, I know who I am, I know why I'm here, I know what I bring. At that point, you won't put up with those old patterns anymore. Now you're going to attract a whole new frequency.
right. So that is very good. So look, if you have a if you have a problem with the same kind of guy or girl and the same kind of characteristic that you do not appreciate, then you have to understand, like you say, the frequency, the energy, the universe,
Yes.
all of that. I believe in all of that, and I believe that those connections and that power, that lies in us, we draw what we desire. Let's find out why we
Yes.
even desiring that in the first place.
Yes.
So another question, I know you said you have a blog. How can they get to your blog?
It's www.nextlevelup.co.za.
So I make sure that that goes out as well. So I get that so that I can make sure that the audience
Yes, I
have
will send it.
that. So if you enjoyed this conversation, read some of those blogs because I am, and I'm like, wow. And the conversation has been enlightening. It's been educational, and it's also been to me therapeutic, in a sense, because when you until you start to talk about these things, you never realize what's still left in you, some of the things that you still yearn, and you never know still, am I still gravitating to that masculinity even though I'm in a marriage? Am I still feeling like, oh, I got to pick up the pieces? I'm not giving him that opportunity to be who he is
Oh yeah,
you
yeah,
know
yeah, yeah,
So even
yeah,
though
yeah.
even though you've been married for a while, sometimes we still need to step back and we need to still look at us. So regardless of where you are in your life, as far as loving yourself, wherever you are, as far as your relationships, whether you're married or just starting a relationship or thinking about getting married, we still need to examine where we are in that balance, because I would say 9 times out of 10 we need to restructure, because
Yes,
I'm listening to stuff and I'm just like, oh boy, I got some work to do. So that's so don't think that it's just for those who are, getting married, just now getting married, or new relationships, or those who, may not even desire a relationship, so it doesn't apply to you. It applies to us, period, because still, if we're not embracing all of us, all of ourselves, still we want to live a life that's happy and that we have that peace and we have that love for ourselves. So regardless if you're with someone or not, still, let balance, get that balance. Love yourself wholly. Loving yourself is not contingent on somebody else loving you. So we still got to love ourselves if nobody's there.
yes. Surprisingly, a lot of my clients are divorced. A
Okay.
lot of them divorced, or they're single, but they've had breakups. And they get to the point where they say, I don't want another relationship like that. So I've got to do the work now before I get into a new relationship.
Yes.
Oh, the shifts, the transformation that takes place with those people, because they're coming in to say, I don't want to repeat the past.
Right.
Such an amazing place to be, because now you're consciously creating, you're healing the past, you're coming to a place where you're a blank slate, and now you're reprogramming,
Right. And so that's the place to be
stepping
proud.
out there. Yeah,
That's a place. That's not a place of defeat. That's a place to be proud
yes,
of, because in life, when we have another, when we're given another chance, that is the blessing. And like you say, we come with a clean slate. We know what we don't want anymore. We don't want to go through that anymore. So we have the opportunity to love in a healthy way, and a way that, will probably lead to that lifetime, relationship, regardless of what your age is. There's always an opportunity to still love.
oh yes, As long
Amazing
as you're alive, there's the
opportunity for
opportunity
love.
to love too. Yeah. Yes,
Well,
yes.
that is wonderful. Well, I want to thank you so much for sharing with us today because I'm telling you, there was so much power that went out and so many therapeutic words and such a profound message with love. And this is a place where I think this is a place that 100% of people need to be. I don't think that this is an isolated situation. I don't think this message is for some people and not others. I think that this message is for anybody and everybody. And I think that the message is it's. I feel that the message is a way of uh, restoration and it bringing that evolution of love, bringing it full circle for yourself. And I like I said, don't even think
Yes,
about the
yes.
relationship, but just for yourself. And where we
Yeah.
think we are, sometimes we're not there. And even if we think we're there, we may just need a little boost. That's all. But this message is definitely that. So we want to make sure that we on Facebook. Join the page, the Love Evolution. I joined the page
Yes.
already, so I already know it's on there. The Love Evolution. It's awesome. So, and then we're gonna get to the blogs. I would have the website, available for the blogs. Can you give me the website again?
Yes, it's www.nextlevelup.co.za.
Okay, so next level up. So I'll make sure that I have that as well. And let's take advantage of those words that she's poured out to us, and let's take advantage of the words that she's reading out for us to read. And that's also, think about the course, the coaching program, right? It's a coaching program. The coaching
Yes, it
program,
is.
and it doesn't matter where you are across this globe. you know this is a very important place in our lives that we really need to embrace. Life is not forever, time is not forever, so why not get to that happy place and embrace the rest of our lives while we can. So again, we want to thank Miss Kas Naidoo.
Kas Naidoo, yes.
Kas Naidoo. And now I'm gonna get it. Kas Naidoo. I really appreciate you being here, and I really have enjoyed this, and I hope that you have enjoyed this conversation just as much as I have. And I learned some things that I just never even considered, and it almost got me a little emotional, a little bit thinking back as a little girl. I kind of felt it. I was like, no, I'm gonna keep it together. But that just goes to show you that how important it is to heal that
Yes,
heart. Yeah.
yes, yes.
So yeah,
And see, the emotion is pointing you to
yeah,
what needs,
yeah.
how beautiful is that? Yeah.
It is,
I
and it's a good thing.
moment of this conversation with you. You asked me some great questions. So thank you very much as well. This was
Yes,
amazing.
I'm glad. So you have any parting words that you want to leave with us? Um, Anything? You said so much, but anything that you want to pour into us real quick?
You know, I think for all of us, we didn't come here to survive. We came here to thrive. And if we can understand that and we say, I have a purpose, I was born with a purpose. And for me, I'm only happy if I'm serving that purpose. If I'm not serving that purpose, that is where we have all the mental health issues, right? Like, I don't know who I am. I'm depressed. I'm lonely. I'm all of these things because we don't have the purpose. So I'm saying tap into that purpose, go within and keep asking, who am I? Why am I here? And when you tap into that purpose, that is when you inspired from within. You don't need anyone to motivate you. You wake up in the morning and you know why you're here, and you bring that energy into your relationships, into the work that you do. And that's the happily ever after that we consciously create.
Wow, that's good right there. That's the happily ever after. It does exist, but with the
Yes,
work.
we consciously create it. Yes.
But thank you so much. And like I said before, this has been totally, totally amazing, and honestly challenging, but victorious. So we will be victorious in this love evolution. So thank you again for sharing with us.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Take care. Bye bye.